What's up guys, this is Levi with Eastern Bikes. Today we're going to be going through the assembly of the Eastern Orbit with gyro. First thing, let's get out your tools. You're going to need some grease, you'll need a ratchet, you'll also need a 15mm and 19mm socket, some wire snips, a 5mm and 6mm Allen wrench, as well as a pedal wrench that is 15mm. You can also use an open box end wrench for that. For the video we had the zip ties removed in advance, but you'll need to go ahead and remove a bunch of zip ties with your wire snips. The bike comes pretty much totally assembled except for the pedals, the front wheel, the bars, the seat, and there's some brake assembly if you have a gyro. So go ahead and get your frame out and go ahead and straighten up the stem with the fork so that it looks about right. It doesn't have to be perfect. Go ahead and get your 5mm Allen wrench, and you can go ahead and take apart the top section of the stem, or if it's a front load stem you can take off the front. There's probably a bunch of grease in there. You can wipe off a little excess if you need to. Set the bars loosely in place, just comfortably, so you can get that top plate on. In an X pattern, go through your bolts here to tighten them up. You want to take extra good care not to over tighten these things. It's very common that people will crack their top plate by over tightening. You just want everything really good and snug. Okay, so next we're gonna get your gyro set up. First step is taking the upper cables, and you're going to want to weave these through the bars, and then you're going to take the end and you're going to slide it through the slot in the upper gyro plate. You're going to want to do that on both the right and left sides. Then you just want to tighten up the nut. Once your cable nuts are tightened, you can go ahead and pull the cable down through to the lower plate and into the little slot on each side. Test out your brakes, go ahead and pull your brake lever and make sure things are reacting properly. Next we're going to go ahead and put your front wheel on. You'll see there's a nut and a washer with a little tab on each side. The washer has this tab that actually fits into a hole on the bottom of your fork dropout. So you just fit that in there and then go ahead and hand tighten your nuts down on each side. Okay, and you can go ahead and look over top of your bike here and make sure that your bars are in line with your tire. Grab your 5mm Allen wrench. We're going to go ahead and start getting your stem crank down with the compression nut, and just tighten this thing down until it's nice and snug, not overly tight. You don't want it binding. Then you'll go ahead and take the back bolts of your stem and get those tightened down. Again, don't over tighten them. We're pretty much almost there, so just grab your seat, slide it on into your seat tube, get your Allen wrench out, and crank it down. Again, not too tight, just nice and snug. You'll know it when you're there. It's very important to always check your pedals before you try putting them on. You never want to cross thread and ruin your cranks. So look at your pedals carefully before you put them on. They'll have a little L for the left side or a little R for the right side on the axle or the pedal body. Put some grease on your axle here. And there's a reason for that. You might be like, well, why am I going to grease this thing up? It might just come unscrewed. That's not the case. Actually, the grease helps basically the threads penetrate into the inner threads of the crank a little deeper and more securely. So Robbie's got his pedal wrench there and he's cranking it down. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, it's something we're used to, but not with the left pedal. There's a reason for that. Left pedals have a counterclockwise thread, and if you were to have a clockwise thread on there, you would end up unscrewing your pedals constantly. So if your pedals are always falling off, it's probably because you have the left one on the right side and the right one on the left side. So next up is the pegs. Robbie's going to go ahead and loosen up the axle nuts. And you'll want to have your ratchet extension out, and you'll just slide the nut into the socket with it inside of the peg, and you can just hand tighten it down. And then once it gets good and snug, you can get out your ratchet and really crank it down. Okay, and then just go ahead and move to your other axles and do the same steps. You may need to make adjustments eventually once you get everything set up. It's very common through this process that the alignment of your wheels may get thrown off just a little bit. So once you get it all together, just stand it up and eye things up good and make sure everything's lined up. And last but not least, let's get out your tire pump and check your tire pressure on the sidewall of your tires, and just make sure you don't over pump them, and get this thing ready for the road.